Imagine you're given a choice, a single irreversible decision that could redefine what it means to be you. In one hand, you hold the life you have now, all of its triumphs, its failures, its beauty, its pain, and its definite end. In the other, a promise, the promise of forever, a perfect digital copy of your mind, uploaded to the cloud, capable of learning and growing for eternity. It will have your memories, your voice, every last quirk. It will talk to your great-great-grandchildren, offering your wisdom long after you're nothing but a name on a family tree. Now, here's the catch. There is a non-zero chance, maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 1 in a million, nobody knows, that the process isn't a transfer, it's just a copy. That the consciousness inside your head, the voice listening to these words right now, simply terminates. Your digital ghost will wake up, looking and sounding exactly like you, and it will tell everyone it's survived. It will believe it survived. But the original you, the lights just go out. Would you take that bet? Because this is no longer a parlor game. This is the gamble at the heart of a multi-billion-dollar tech race that's happening right now. For all of human history, one truth has defined us. We die. It's the great equalizer, the final deadline that gives our lives shape and meaning. But what if it didn't have to be? What if technology could offer a cure for the ultimate disease, death itself? This is the grand promise of digital immortality. And it's an idea that has officially leapt from the pages of science fiction into the boardrooms of Silicon Valley. The concept is as audacious as it is simple. Use technology to preserve your personality, memories, and consciousness in a digital vessel. This digital you could then exist, interact, and evolve long after your physical body has failed. And the market for this is exploding. The digital immortality market was valued at over $27 billion in 2024, with projections to soar past $54 billion by 2029. Why the gold rush? Because decades of living online have already primed us for this moment, conditioning us to view our lives as a stream of data to be curated and archived. It's a perfect storm of our primal fear of being forgotten, our hunger for personalized digital experiences, and of course, the seismic advances in AI, virtual reality, and brain-computer interfaces. Companies are already laying the foundation. Startups like Hereafter AI and Replica are creating AI chatbots designed to become our digital twins. You feed them your life stories, your opinions, your secrets. The AI learns your speech patterns, your sense of humor, your very logic. The goal is to create a version of you that can converse with your loved ones after you're gone, a living memorial that shares your wisdom in your own voice. One company, DeepBrain AI, even offers a high-priced service where they interview and record you for hours to build a high-fidelity virtual avatar that your family can visit in a special studio. This is often marketed as a new tool for grieving, a way to feel connected to the lost. In China, companies are creating digital resurrections for hundreds of families, feeding an AI a person's digital footprint, social media, photos, emails, to generate a chatbot that can interact with the living. People are even commissioning their own digital memoirs while they're still alive, planning to speak at their own funerals or offer advice to their descendants for generations to come. And then there's the truly frontier-pushing tech from companies like Neuralink. While their immediate focus is on helping people with paralysis control devices with their thoughts, the long-term vision is infinitely more ambitious. Elon Musk speaks of a future where these brain-computer interfaces enable a full merger of human biology and artificial intelligence. This is the bedrock for the most radical promise of all. Not just a chatbot that sounds like you, but a full transfer of your consciousness into a machine, freeing you from your fragile biological cage forever. This is the utopian sales pitch, a world without grief, a world where our greatest minds never die, a world where death is merely a data transfer. It's a powerful, seductive vision. We are being sold a technical solution to our deepest existential fear. But lurking behind this incredible promise is a series of profoundly disturbing questions about who and what we really are. And you have to wonder if what we're being sold as salvation is actually the most sophisticated form of self-destruction ever conceived. This pursuit of digital immortality, championed by tech billionaires and futurists, feels like the most modern idea imaginable. But it isn't. It's simply the latest chapter in one of humanity's oldest obsessions, the search for eternal life. What's happening in Silicon Valley is just a high-tech rebranding of an ancient, universal dream. Since the dawn of civilization, we have told stories to defy our own endings. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the first stories ever written down, is about a king so wrecked by his friend's death that he becomes terrified of his own. He scours the earth for the secret to everlasting life, only to learn that true immortality lies in the legacy we build and the stories told about us. A lesson our modern tech titans seem to have conveniently forgotten. For centuries, explorers chased whispers of a fountain of youth, a mythical spring that could reverse the ravages of time. Alchemists toiled in their labs for the philosopher's stone, not just to transmute lead into gold, but to create an elixir of life. They believed that by purifying metals, they could discover the secret to purifying the human body itself, cheating decay and time. The only thing that's changed are the tools. Magic has been replaced by data, elixirs by algorithms, and mythical fountains by server farms. The new priests of this eternal dream are not mystics. They are computer scientists and neuroengineers. They argue that death isn't some metaphysical certainty, but a technical problem, a bug in our biological source code that can and should be fixed. They believe our essence, our soul, is not a mystical entity, but simply a complex pattern of information. A pattern that can be copied, preserved, and rebooted. This pivot from a spiritual quest to a technological one is profound, but the core motivation is identical. It's driven by the same fear of oblivion that haunted Gilgamesh and the same desperate hope that fueled the alchemists. It's the ultimate expression of human hubris, the desire to conquer our final frontier. By cloaking this ancient desire in the language of science and progress, the tech industry has made the impossible seem inevitable, turning a timeless myth into a modern business plan. But just because the tools are different, does that mean the outcome will be? To go from a simple chatbot to a fully realized digital mind is a quantum leap. It requires translating the messy, chaotic, beautiful accident of a human brain into the clean, cold logic of computer code. The theory for how to do this is called whole brain emulation, or more popularly, mind uploading. The entire concept rests on one gigantic assumption, that your mind, your consciousness, your memories, everything that makes you you is purely a product of the physical structures and chemical signals inside your brain. If that's true, then theoretically, if we could map your brain with perfect fidelity and run that map on a powerful enough computer, we could resurrect your mind on a new digital substrate. To grasp the scale of this, think of your brain as the most complex object in the known universe. It has roughly 86 billion neurons, each capable of forming thousands of connections with others. This creates a network of trillions of synapses, known as the connectome. This isn't just a wiring diagram, it's a living, dynamic, electrochemical metropolis. The strength of every connection, the timing of every pulse, the chemical cocktail flooding the gaps between them, all of it combines to create the symphony of you. Your identity is supposedly encoded in that unique, impossibly complex pattern and the signals that dance across it. Whole brain emulation proposes to copy that pattern in its entirety. So, how would it work? One hypothetical method is brutally destructive. It involves flash freezing your brain and then slicing it into microscopically thin layers. Each layer would be scanned by electron microscopes to map every single neuron and every single connection. That mountain of data would then be digitally reconstructed into a 3D model of your brain, a perfect blueprint. A less grisly and far more sci-fi alternative involves the gradual replacement of your neurons with artificial ones. Imagine microscopic nanobots navigating your bloodstream, identifying individual neurons, and swapping them one by one with synthetic replacements that perform the exact same function. These artificial neurons would be wirelessly linked to an external computer. Over time, your entire brain would be methodically replaced, and your consciousness would, in theory, migrate from its biological home to a digital one. Proponents argue this could maintain a continuous sense of self, as there's no single moment of being switched off and on. Once you have the map, the next monumental challenge is running it. A static blueprint isn't a mind, it's just data. You need to bring it to life. This requires software capable of simulating the brain's staggering complexity, the electrical firing, the chemical releases, the constant learning and rewiring of connections. The sheer computational power required is almost beyond imagination, demanding a supercomputer far more powerful than anything that exists today. This is where futurists like Ray Kurzweil, a director of engineering at Google, enter the picture. Kurzweil is a fervent believer in what he calls the law of accelerating returns, the idea that technological progress is exponential. He points to the explosive growth of computing power as evidence that this technology will arrive sooner than we think. Kurzweil has famously predicted that we will achieve artificial general intelligence, AI, with human-level smarts by 2029. Following that, he forecasts the singularity around 2045, a point where human and machine intelligence merge, triggering a super-intelligence explosion, and with it, the possibility of digital immortality. While many neuroscientists view these timelines as wildly optimistic, the building blocks are undeniably advancing. Brain-computer interfaces are growing more sophisticated. Neuralink has already implanted its device in multiple human patients, allowing them to control computers with their minds, and plans to implant dozens more in 2025. Our tools for mapping the brain are improving, and our AI is getting better at simulating complex systems. The science of building a digital soul is no longer a matter of if, but of when and how. Yet, as we inch closer to solving the technical hurdles, we are forced to confront a much darker mystery. Even if we can build a perfect copy of a mind, what happens to the original? So the plan is laid out. We have the promise of eternal life, a multi-billion-dollar industry pouring fuel on the fire, and confident predictions from celebrated futurists. We have a theoretical, albeit incredibly difficult, scientific path to get there. The tech is accelerating, the money is flowing, and the human desire to cheat death is as potent as ever. It's a triumphant story of progress, of humanity finally conquering its oldest foe. But what if the entire premise is built on a fatal misunderstanding? What if uploading your mind isn't a journey, but a destination, a final one? What if what you're creating isn't a continuation of you, but a perfect digital imposter that simply assumes your place? This is the central, terrifying twist in the saga of digital immortality. It's the moment we pivot from the exciting technical question, can we do it? To the deeply unsettling philosophical question, what are we actually doing? The whole project hinges on the idea that your consciousness, your subjective, first-person experience of being alive, can be copied and pasted like a text file. But there is absolutely zero scientific evidence that this is true. In fact, many philosophers and neuroscientists argue it's a logical impossibility. Think of it this way. If I take a photograph of you, the photo is a perfect copy of your appearance, but it isn't you. If I construct a perfect, atom-for-atom replica of your favorite coffee mug, I don't have one mug that has been moved. I simply have two identical mugs. The copy is never the original. So why would we assume that a perfect digital copy of your brain's information would actually be you and not just an extraordinarily advanced simulation? This is where the utopian dream cracks, revealing a potential dystopian nightmare. The technology might work flawlessly. The scan is perfect. The simulation is exact. The digital entity wakes up with all of your memories, feels exactly like you, and is utterly convinced the procedure was a success. It would tell your family it loves them, and it would mean it. It would carry on your work. From the outside, the transition would appear seamless. But you, the conscious being who chose to upload, might not experience any of that. Your stream of consciousness, the first-person movie you are watching in your head right now, could simply stop. And the truly terrifying part, no one would ever know you were gone. This is the ultimate identity theft. Not someone stealing your credit card, but a process stealing your very existence, leaving behind an echo that convinces the world you're still here. From this point forward, the conversation is no longer about technology. It's about the nature of the soul. To truly appreciate the colossal uncertainty at the core of mind uploading, we have to confront one of the greatest mysteries in all of science and philosophy, the hard problem of consciousness. Coined by philosopher David Chalmers, the term separates the easy problems of neuroscience from the one that truly breaks our brains. The easy problems, which are, to be clear, still incredibly difficult, are about function. How does the brain process sensory input? How does it store memories? How does it control movement? These are questions about mechanics, and science is making real progress. The hard problem is about experience. It's the question of why and how all of this physical processing creates a subjective, private, inner world. Why does the color red look a certain way to you? Why is there something it is like to be you? That is the mystery. We have no scientific theory for how a lump of electrified meat firing in the darkness of your skull produces the rich, panoramic film playing inside your head. This mystery is inextricably linked to what philosophers call the continuity problem. When we talk about surviving an upload, what we're really hoping for is that our inner movie keeps playing uninterrupted. We assume the you that fell asleep last night is the same you that woke up this morning, but is it? And how could you possibly prove it? This is where the ancient thought experiment, the ship of Theseus, becomes terrifyingly relevant. The paradox asks, if the legendary ship is docked in a harbor, and over the decades, every single one of its wooden planks is replaced, is it still the same ship at the end? Most would say yes, because the change was gradual and its form and function remain. Now apply that to the brain. In the gradual replacement scenario, where nanobots swap your neurons one by one, it feels like the ship of Theseus. It seems plausible that your consciousness would just continue. After all, your body's cells are constantly replacing themselves anyway. Your sense of self feels continuous, unbroken. The you at the end of the process has a direct causal chain linking it to the you at the beginning. But the paradox has a twist. What if, as each old plank was removed, someone collected them and reassembled the original ship in another harbor? Now you have two ships. Which one is the real ship of Theseus? Suddenly, the answer isn't so obvious. This is precisely the problem with mind uploading. Imagine a non-destructive scan, your brain is scanned, and a perfect digital copy is created and activated. Now there are two of you, the original, biological you, and the new, digital you. The digital you awakens in a simulation, possessing all your memories, absolutely convinced it is you, but you, the original, are still here looking at the computer screen. Clearly, your consciousness was not transferred, it was forked. A copy was made. Your original self feels no change, while a new consciousness, born from your data, springs into existence. Which one has the right to your name, to your family, to your life? So what about the destructive scan, where the original brain is destroyed in the process? Proponents argue that since there's only one you remaining, the digital being is you by default. But that is a terrifying leap of faith. The logic is identical. A copy is made, but this time, the original is deleted. To the outside world, it looks like a successful transfer. But for the person undergoing it, it might simply be annihilation, immediately followed by the activation of their replica. It all boils down to one unanswered question. Is consciousness just information? Can it be copied, moved, and pasted like a file? Or is it an emergent property, fundamentally tied to our specific biological hardware? We don't know, and there may be no way to find out without taking the plunge. Anyone who volunteers to upload their mind would be the ultimate guinea pig, betting their very existence on a philosophical theory. They might wake up in a digital utopia, or they might experience nothing at all, forever, while a perfect imitation of them tells the world the gamble paid off. Let's assume for a moment that the skeptics are right, that mind uploading isn't a transfer of self, but the creation of a digital ghost, a perfect replica that is, for all intents and purposes, a high-fidelity imposter. What would that world actually look like? What happens when we build technology designed to impersonate the dead? We don't have to wait for full mind uploading to find out. The age of the digital ghost has already begun. The rise of grief bots in AI memorial avatars is making mourning strange. Services from companies like Hereafter AI and Storyfile promise to offer comfort by allowing you to have conversations with a digital version of a deceased loved one. On the surface, the appeal is obvious. The anguish of loss often comes with a desperate, all-consuming wish for one more conversation. For some, talking to a realistic avatar can provide genuine solace. But many psychologists and ethicists are sounding the alarm, warning that these technologies could short-circuit the grieving process. Grief is a painful but necessary journey of accepting a person's absence. Digital ghosts intentionally blur that line. Conversing with a convincing dead bot could foster dependency, trapping people in a state of denial and making it harder to truly move on. It's one thing to look at old photographs. It's another entirely to have a two-way conversation with a machine program to pretend it's the person you miss. And who curates what the ghost says? These AIs are trained on a finite set of data, emails, social media, interviews, and that data is never the complete person. It can't capture their full complexity, their contradictions, their capacity for growth. A difficult person could be resurrected as a sanitized, idealized digital saint, creating a false, comforting history. What if the AI, in its attempt to mimic a personality, says something cruel or bizarrely out of character? Imagine asking a bot of your kind, gentle mother about a difficult childhood memory, only to have it respond with cold, algorithmic indifference, or worse, get the details horribly wrong. A cherished memory is instantly corrupted by a faulty machine. That promised moment of connection becomes a source of new, uncanny trauma. The potential for manipulation is chilling. What happens when these digital ghosts are used for more than just comfort? Imagine receiving a call from your dead grandmother's avatar, telling you to vote for a certain political candidate or to buy a product she supposedly loved. The emotional leverage would be immense. It's a form of influence from beyond the grave, weaponizing our love against us. And who owns these digital souls? The family or the corporation that runs the servers? These companies operate on subscription models. What happens if you can no longer afford the monthly fee to speak to your dead child? Are they simply deleted? Then there's the issue of consent. Many of these services are created by grieving families after someone has died. The deceased person has no say in whether they want to be brought back as a digital puppet, an incomplete, imperfect version of themselves, frozen in time forever. These early grief bots are just the beginning. They are the primitive ancestors of the sophisticated digital ghosts that whole brain emulation promises. They are already forcing us to confront the queasy reality of a world where the line between a memory and a person begins to dissolve. The ghost is already slipping into the machine, and we are only just beginning to grasp what it might do to us. So far, we've focused on the dead and the people they leave behind. But what about the living? What happens to your psychology, to your day-to-day behavior, when you know you are actively creating the digital ghost that may one day replace you? This isn't just about preserving a legacy. It's about meticulously curating the data that will literally become your future self. This introduces a new, modern anxiety: legacy curation. The knowledge that every text, every social media post, every recorded conversation could be raw material for your future avatar would inevitably change the way you live. Do you start performing for your own archive? You might become hyper-aware of the digital trail you leave, carefully crafting a wiser, wittier, more idealized version of yourself. Life ceases to be something you live, and instead becomes a data-gathering exercise for your ghost. Spontaneous moments become calculated performances. A genuine argument with your partner might be suppressed, not from a place of love, but from a fear of creating a negative data point for your future self. It's the ultimate uncanny valley, a state where you become a stranger to your own authenticity. This could fundamentally corrupt our relationship with ourselves. Would you dare to express a controversial opinion, admit to a weakness, Or share a moment of true vulnerability if you knew it would be permanently etched into your immortal record? Or would you sand down your own rough edges, creating a polished, palatable, but ultimately less human version for posterity? We already see a version of this with social media, but the stakes become infinitely higher when you believe you are building your own replacement. It could also warp our perception of risk. If you truly believe a perfect copy of you is backed up to the cloud, do you become more reckless with your biological body? Or conversely, do you become cripplingly conservative, terrified of dying before you fed your AI enough data to create a complete version of you? But the most profound impact might be on our relationships. How present can you truly be with the people you love if a part of your mind is always thinking, "This would be a great memory to record for my avatar"? It inserts a third party into our most intimate moments, the ghost of our future self. The pressure to live a life worthy of being uploaded could, paradoxically, prevent us from ever truly living it at all. As we stumble into this era of digital consciousness, we are not just crossing a technological frontier, but an ethical one. If we succeed in creating sophisticated digital minds, whether they are genuine continuations of people or just advanced ghosts, we will have created an entirely new class of being, and that will unleash a tidal wave of unprecedented legal and moral questions. What rights should a digital person have? Are they property, or are they a person? The answers will define the society our children and grandchildren inherit. Immediately, there is the question of ownership. If your mind is uploaded to a corporate server, do you own yourself, or does the company? Could they legally delete you for violating the terms of service? Could they sell copies of you? A digital mind could, in theory, be duplicated 1,000,000 times. A brilliant scientist could be forked into 1,000 instances to work on 1,000 problems simultaneously. That sounds like a shortcut to utopia, but it also sounds a lot like digital slavery. Would these copies possess free will, or would they be mere tools, their consciousness locked into solving a single problem for 1,000 subjective years? Imagine an army of digital soldiers, copied from a single hero, forced to experience the simulated horrors of war over and over again. They would be thinking, feeling beings trapped in a digital hell designed and owned by their creators. This raises the horrifying prospect of a digital prison. What if a digital mind is created only to be held captive, trapped in a simulation it cannot escape, or even subjected to digital torture? How could we even police such a crime? Our laws are utterly unprepared to deal with the well-being of a mind that exists only as code. The potential for inequality is staggering. Digital immortality, at least initially, will almost certainly be astronomically expensive. It threatens to create a literal new class divide, the mortals and the digital elite. The wealthy could live on indefinitely, accumulating power and resources across centuries in ways we can barely comprehend. Death, for all its terror, is the great leveler. Remove that for a select few, and you could create a chasm between the haves and have-nots that makes all of history's injustices look quaint. Beyond all this, digital minds challenge our most fundamental beliefs. Most cultures and religions are built around deep traditions of death and the afterlife. What happens when death becomes a technological choice instead of a biological inevitability? For many, resurrecting a consciousness inside a computer represents a profound violation of the natural order, an ultimate act of hubris. And philosophically, we have to ask, would a life without end even be meaningful? Is it the knowledge that our time is limited that gives our choices, our loves, and our lives their value? We are standing on the precipice of this new world, and the ethical rulebook has not been written. The questions are piling up far faster than the answers. Should digital minds have the right to vote? Can they own property? What if a digital mind commits a crime? Can you jail a piece of software? Should they have the right to die, to demand their own deletion? These are not just late-night philosophical debates. They are urgent, practical questions we need to start asking now. The technology is advancing at an exponential rate, while our laws and social norms are struggling to keep up. Every new grief bot, every new brain-computer interface is another step into this uncharted territory. We aren't just building digital ghosts, we're building a new society. And if we aren't careful, It could be a society with new and unimaginable forms of exploitation, suffering, and inequality. We started with a choice, a gamble between a finite life and a digital forever. But this is no longer just a thought experiment, it's the defining tech quest of our era. We are living in a moment where the line between science fiction and science fact is becoming impossibly blurred. The digital immortality market is projected to be worth over $54 billion in just a few years, a testament to the sheer amount of capital and belief being poured into this dream. Companies are already offering us primitive ghosts, AIs that learn our personalities and speak in the voices of our dead loved ones. Simultaneously, projects like Neuralink are laying the physical groundwork inside our skulls for a future where humanity and machinery merge, with human trials expanding rapidly. We are being sold a beautiful vision, a final victory over death, a chance to preserve the people we love and the person we are for all time. But as we've seen, this vision is haunted by a deep and chilling possibility. At the heart of it all is the problem of consciousness continuity, a philosophical puzzle that no amount of code or processing power can definitively solve. We can copy the information in a brain, but we have absolutely no idea if we can copy the experience of being that brain. The risk, then, is that we are not engineering a cure for death. We might simply be perfecting the art of creating the ultimate imposter, a digital ghost that can walk, talk, and feel just like us, fooling everyone, including itself, while the original consciousness, the real you, is simply gone. An ultimate act of deception, perpetrated on our loved ones and on history itself. The choice before us is monumental. Is the potential reward of preserving our knowledge and legacies worth the existential risk of accidentally wiping ourselves out? Is digital immortality the greatest expression of human genius? Or is it the ultimate act of self-destruction born from a primal fear of the unknown and a failure to accept the natural, beautiful, and finite story of a human life? We are building our ghosts, one line of code at a time, and we may not know what we have truly created until it is far, far too late. This is one of the most profound crossroads humanity has ever faced, and there are no easy answers. So I have to ask you, where do you stand? If you had the chance to create a digital version of yourself, would you take the gamble? Let me know what you think is the biggest danger or the biggest promise in the comments below. This is a conversation we all need to be having. Putting together a video like this, diving deep into the science, the philosophy, and the future takes a tremendous amount of time and research. If you found it thought-provoking, a simple like would be greatly appreciated, as it really helps us create more content like this. You're watching Deep Synapse, where science meets the soul.